Patsy Parisi is one of the strangest survivors in The Sopranos, because his whole story begins with a reason to hate Tony,
I miss him so much.
and ends with him sitting closer to Tony's family than almost anyone left alive. He is introduced through loss before he is introduced as a real player. His twin brother Philly is whacked after Tony takes control of the family in everything but title. Philly has been part of Junior's side, and once Junior's power collapses, Philly becomes dangerous because he talks too much. He complains in public. He repeats things he should not repeat. He treats Tony's rise like gossip instead of a political reality. That is enough to get him killed. Gigi carries it out, but the order comes from Tony's side of the family. From Patsy's point of view, the meaning is simple. His brother was murdered because he became inconvenient. That is the first thing to understand about Patsy. He does not come into the show as a blank soldier. He comes in as a man who already knows the boss had his twin brother removed. Not a distant cousin, not a friend from the old neighborhood, his twin. That makes his situation more personal than almost anyone else in Tony's crew. Christopher resents Tony because Tony controls him. Paulie resents Tony because Tony does not appreciate him enough. Carlo later turns because his son is in trouble. Patsy has a cleaner reason than all of them. Tony took away the person who looked exactly like him. But Patsy does not explode right away. That is what makes him interesting. He is not Richie April, walking into every room like the world owes him his old position back. He is not Feech Lamanna, unable to understand that the family has changed while he was away. Patsy's grief is quieter, and because it is quieter, it is more dangerous. He keeps showing up, he keeps playing the role. He stands near Tony, listens to Tony, and does business under the man he believes is responsible for Philly's death. His first major turning point is the night he goes to Tony's house drunk with a gun. It is one of the most important Patsy scenes because it shows the entire conflict inside him without needing him to explain it. He looks at Tony's home, the pool, the symbol of comfort and family and power that Tony gets to enjoy after ordering other people's pain. Patsy is drunk enough to act, but not far gone enough to stop thinking. He points the gun, stands there, and for a moment the whole story could go in a completely different direction. As a decision, it is incredibly stupid. Patsy has no real plan. He is alone. He is drunk. He is near the boss's house with a gun. If Tony sees him, Patsy is dead. If someone else sees him, Patsy is dead. If he actually fires and misses, he is dead. It is not strategy. It is grief wearing the mask of revenge. But the scene also gives Patsy more dignity than people sometimes give him credit for. He is not a coward in that moment. He is a man who has been forced to swallow something unbearable. He has to live inside a system where his brother's murder cannot even be spoken about honestly. Everybody knows how the life works, but nobody can say the truth in a way that gives the dead man justice. Patsy is trapped between family loyalty and survival. His brother deserves revenge, but his own wife, children, and future need him alive. The smartest thing Patsy does in that scene is nothing. He does not shoot. He does not knock on the door. He does not create a war he cannot win. He urinates in Tony's pool, which is childish, ugly, and symbolic all at once. Then he leaves. It is a pathetic little act of revenge, but it is also the only revenge he can take without destroying himself. He dirties Tony's private space. He makes the pool, the clean suburban symbol of Tony's success, into something stained. Then he goes home and stays alive. That becomes the pattern of Patsy's entire arc. He feels more than he says. He understands more than he shows. He survives by keeping the dangerous part of himself hidden. Tony later tests him. Tony knows enough to be suspicious. He knows Patsy is grieving. He knows Patsy has reason to hate him.
You got a problem?
Tony does not need a courtroom level of evidence to understand that a twin brother might hold a grudge. When Tony speaks to Patsy about whether he has moved past the grief, the scene is really a loyalty test. Patsy has to perform acceptance. He has to tell Tony what Tony needs to hear.
Put your grief behind you.
That is another smart decision. Patsy does not try to be brave in the stupid way. He does not make some proud statement about Philly. He does not challenge Tony. He does not ask for truth. He gives Tony obedience, or at least the appearance of obedience. In the mob, appearance often matters almost as much as reality because nobody can read minds. Tony cannot know what Patsy thinks at night. He can only judge whether Patsy is useful, controlled, and unlikely to create immediate trouble. Patsy passes that test. After that, Patsy settles into the background of the family. That can make him seem less important, but his background role is part of the point. The Sopranos is full of men who bring attention onto themselves and then get destroyed by it. Richie pushes too hard. Ralphie earns well but cannot stop provoking people. Christopher wants respect but keeps proving he is unstable. Vito makes money, but once his secret becomes public, he cannot control the story around him. Patsy does the opposite. He lowers his profile. He is present in the business. He works collections. He joins meetings. He handles intimidation. He takes part in the everyday machinery of the family, but he rarely forces himself into the center. That is not because he is useless, it is because his value comes from being reliable enough and quiet enough. Tony's world needs men like Patsy. Not every soldier can be a star earner or a violent maniac. Some men are there to carry the system forward, day after day, job after job, without turning every problem into a personal drama. The Gloria Trillo scene is the cleanest example of Patsy's usefulness. Tony's relationship with Gloria has become dangerous. Gloria is not just another girlfriend who wants attention. She has crossed into Tony's real life. She has contacted Carmela, and that is the line Tony cannot allow her to cross. He needs the message delivered without another emotional scene. Patsy is perfect for the job. He gets into Gloria's car and explains the situation with terrifying calm. He does not need to perform rage. He does not need to prove he is tough. He simply makes her understand what will happen if she contacts Tony's family again. The threat works because Patsy speaks like a man describing procedure, not like a man trying to impress himself. There is no fantasy left in the car after he arrives. Gloria's relationship with Tony might have felt intense, dramatic, and personal to her, but Patsy shows her the institution behind Tony. He shows her that Tony is not just a man having an affair. Tony is attached to a criminal structure that can send someone calm, ordinary-looking, and deadly serious to sit beside her and explain the consequences. That might be Patsy's smartest professional moment in the show. He understands the assignment completely. He does not overdo it. He does not create unnecessary evidence. He does not hurt her physically because he does not need to. He gets the point across and leaves. In one scene, Patsy shows why Tony keeps him around despite the history with Philly. He can be trusted with delicate intimidation. He can frighten someone without making a public mess. There is also something revealing about Tony choosing Patsy for that job. Tony knows Patsy has reason to hate him, yet he still uses him for something personal. That says a lot about Tony's confidence or arrogance. It also says something about Patsy's discipline. Tony has decided Patsy is contained. Maybe not loyal in the pure sense, but contained enough. In Tony's world, that is often all loyalty means. As the seasons continue, Patsy remains steady while other people burn themselves out. He is not completely invisible, but he is not reckless in the way the louder characters are. He is present at construction-related jobs, family gatherings, and street-level operations. He is one of the men who keeps the crew functioning, while Tony deals with bigger problems. That is not glamorous, but it is realistic. Most criminal organizations do not run on constant dramatic speeches. They run on people collecting money, showing up, passing messages, watching doors, threatening civilians, and knowing when not to talk. Patsy's intelligence is mostly practical. He does not seem like a genius. He is not presented as a great strategist. He is not building some independent empire. But he has a very sharp sense of danger. He knows when a situation is too big for him. He knows when pride is expensive. He knows that being underestimated can be useful. And because he is not constantly begging for Tony's approval, he avoids some of the emotional traps that destroy Christopher and Paulie. At the same time, Patsy is not perfect. His dumb decisions often come through emotion, family, or passive weakness. The pool scene is the clearest example of emotional stupidity, but the bigger long-term weakness is his household. His son Jason becomes involved with Carlo's son, also named Jason, in criminal behavior that eventually draws federal pressure. This is not just a small side detail. It becomes part of the collapse around Tony at the end. Carlo flips because his son is in trouble, and Patsy's son is close enough to that mess to make Patsy vulnerable too. For a man whose whole adult survival depends on caution, that is a serious failure. Patsy knows the life. He knows what happens when children get too close to crime without the discipline or understanding to survive it. He has seen Jackie Jr. drift into gangster fantasy and die for it. He has seen Christopher's addiction and ego make him a liability. He has seen how the government uses family pressure. Yet his own son is still near the kind of trouble that can bring heat to everyone. That does not mean Patsy could fully control Jason. The show is honest about that. These men can control unions, sports betting, construction jobs, and frighten civilians, but they cannot always control their own homes. Their children grow up around money, status, and coded violence. They absorb the benefits before they understand the consequences. Jason Parisi and Jason Gervasi behave like young men who think they are protected by their father's names, but those names are exactly what make them useful to prosecutors. Patsy's other important family connection is Patrick Parisi, who becomes involved with Meadow. This changes Patsy's position in a quiet but huge way. Meadow is not just Tony's daughter. She is the most protected symbol of Tony's legitimate family. Tony can lie about crime, money, violence, and business, but Meadow is part of the image he has of himself as a father. When Patrick and Meadow become serious, Patsy's family moves into Tony's family circle through marriage. That is one of the strangest ironies in the whole show. Tony had Philly killed. Years later, Philly's twin may become connected to Tony through their children. On the surface, it looks like domestic progress. Nice dinners, law school, engagement talk, families blending. But underneath, it is almost grotesque. The man who swallowed his brother's murder now has to smile across tables because his son is joining the boss's family. Was this Patsy's plan? The show does not give enough proof to say that. It would be too neat to turn Patsy into a secret mastermind who pushed Patrick toward Meadow as revenge or strategy. But Patsy is smart enough to understand what the relationship means once it exists. Patrick marrying Meadow gives the Parisi family a new kind of closeness to Tony. It gives Patsy status. It gives his household a layer of protection. It places him near the center without needing to fight his way there. That is Patsy's style at its most effective. He does not climb by dramatic conquest. He lasts long enough for the world to rearrange itself around him. There is another small but important Patsy moment involving the corporate coffee shop. Patsy and Bert Gervasi try to shake down a chain store, only to realize the old neighborhood model does not work the same way against corporate business. The manager cannot just pay them out of the register. The store is part of a larger machine. The decision makers are somewhere else. The money is controlled through systems, rules, cameras, and offices that do not care about local street pressure. That scene is partly funny, but it is also one of the clearest signs that Patsy understands the mob's decline at street level. The old rackets depended on local businesses, personal fear, and face-to-face pressure. A neighborhood shop owner could be leaned on. A corporate chain is different. There is no single frightened owner behind the counter. The money does not sit in the same place. The person in the store may not even have the authority to give them what they want. Patsy sees it. He may not have the solution, but he sees the problem. That is one of his smarter qualities. He recognizes when the world has changed. Some of the older gangsters live inside nostalgia, believing the old rules should still apply because they used to apply. Patsy is less romantic. He can look at the situation and understand that the little guy, including the little gangster in some cases, is being squeezed out by bigger systems. The Bert connection also becomes important later because Bert starts moving in a dangerous direction during the conflict with New York. Bert is ready to betray Tony or at least shift toward a future where Tony is removed. Silvio kills him for it. Patsy is close enough to Bert that this could have become a problem for him, but Patsy does not get caught with him. Again, Patsy's survival depends partly on distance. He can be near danger without standing directly inside it. That becomes even more important during the final war. By season 6, Tony's world is collapsing from several directions at once. New York has become openly hostile under Phil. The old business relationships have turned into personal vendettas. Bobby is killed. Silvio is targeted. Tony goes into hiding. Carlo is under pressure from the government. The family that once looked stable now looks hollowed out. A lot of the men who gave Tony's crew weight are dead, flipped, weakened, or gone. Patsy is still there. The hit on Silvio is one of Patsy's most revealing final moments. He is with Silvio when the gunmen attack outside the Bing. Silvio is caught badly. Patsy fires back, but when the situation turns hopeless, he runs. This moment can make Patsy look weak if you view loyalty as dying beside your friend no matter what. But the show is usually more honest than that. Patsy understands the attack is not a fair fight. Silvio is hit. The shooters have the advantage. Staying there probably means getting killed too, so Patsy runs. It is not heroic, it is not beautiful, it does not look good, but it is smart. That is the uncomfortable truth of Patsy's character. His smartest choices are often ugly choices. He survives because he does not confuse pride with strategy. He did not shoot Tony at the pool. He did not tell Tony the truth about his hatred. He did not turn the Gloria job into a performance. He did not attach himself openly to Bert's betrayal. And when bullets came for Silvio, he did not stay frozen in loyalty until he was dead. That does not make him admirable, it makes him alive. By the final episodes, Patsy is in one of the most interesting positions of anyone left. Tony's family is damaged, his leadership circle is almost gone. Bobby is dead. Silvio may never wake up. Christopher is dead by Tony's own hand. Carlo has flipped. Paulie is still around, but Paulie is Paulie, useful and unreliable at the same time. The New York War has stripped Tony's world down to almost nothing. And Patsy, the man who once stood drunk outside Tony's house with a gun, is now connected to Tony through Meadow and Patrick. That is why Patsy is often discussed in theories about Tony's possible death after the final scene. The show never confirms that Patsy had anything to do with anything. That needs to be said clearly. There is no scene where Patsy orders a hit, there is no confession, there is no proof. But the reason people suspect him is understandable. He has motive from Philly. He has possible benefit through his son's connection to Meadow. He has reason to worry because his own son was close to the same trouble that made Carlo flip, and he has spent years proving he can hide what he feels. If Tony dies, Patsy's old wound is answered without Patsy ever having to expose himself. If Tony is arrested because Carlo testifies, Patsy may still be in danger because of the sons. If Tony remains boss, Patsy remains tied to a man who killed his brother and leads a family under federal pressure. None of the options are clean. But Patsy's ending gives him one thing he has always wanted. Even if he never says it out loud, he is still standing. His arc is not a rise in the usual mafia story sense. He does not start as a nobody and become boss. He does not win a war. He does not become Tony's right hand. His arc is about endurance. He begins as the surviving twin of a murdered man. He almost throws his life away in grief. He learns to hide the grief. He proves useful. He stays quiet while louder men self-destruct. He protects himself through discipline, routine, and emotional control. By the end, he is closer to Tony's family than anyone would have expected when Philly was killed. Patsy's dumbest decisions reveal the part of him that is still human. Going to Tony's house with a gun is reckless. Letting his son drift near criminal trouble is dangerous. Staying in Tony's world at all, after knowing what happened to Philly, is morally rotten and personally humiliating. But Patsy is not living in a world where clean choices exist. His smartest decisions reveal the part of him that understands the rules better than most. He does not act on revenge when revenge would destroy him. He tells Tony what Tony needs to hear. He handles Gloria with cold precision. He keeps his head down when ambition is killing other men. He runs when staying would only add another body to the pavement. That is what makes him such a strong Sopranos character. He is not written to dominate the screen. He is written like a man who learned that domination gets you watched, and being watched gets you killed. Patsy survives by being useful but not too visible, wounded but not openly rebellious, connected but not loud, angry but not stupid enough to announce it. The final irony is that Tony probably understands Patsy less than he thinks he does. Tony sees the surface. Patsy works. Patsy obeys. Patsy attends dinners. Patsy's son dates Meadow. Patsy seems manageable. But the viewer has seen the pool. The viewer knows there was a night when Patsy almost crossed the line forever. That memory never leaves his character. Every calm scene after that carries the ghost of what he almost did. Patsy Parisi's whole story is built on what he does not say. He does not openly accuse Tony. He does not give speeches about Philly. He does not explain his pain. He does not show his full hand. And because he does not show it, he lasts. In a show full of men destroyed by appetite, pride, addiction, ego, and noise, Patsy survives through silence. He may not be powerful in the way Tony is powerful. He may not be feared in the way Phil is feared. He may not be memorable in the way Paulie is memorable. But by the end, Patsy has something most of them do not have: a future.